they give you in class. Even if you don't have the class, you can at least watch the problem and see how it goes along here. And just one more chance at looking at quadratics and how we can kind of combine what we learned in Algebra 2 along with what we've done in IB. So they give you a generic function, intersects the graph at point A, 0, 5. Remember that whenever we get a point, that is something you can plug into two places. You can plug in for x and for y, and so they give us two of those values. And I'm not even reading the question yet, I'm just looking at what I have. I know I have some x and y values, which is going to allow me to plug in here and get rid of some things. Okay, so now we can go ahead and look at the question. It says write down the value of c. So c is the constant in our quadratic. It is also where the parabola starts on the y-axis. So a lot of times if there's a diver problem or something, that's where it starts. So do I know what c is? C is when x is 0. So when x is 0, c would be 5. So that's a pretty straightforward answer. C is 5. By using the coordinates of the vertex B or otherwise, write down two equations in A and B. Okay, so going back to what we know about the value here, the vertex is at 4, 13. So this B is the vertex. So x equals 4, and this y value is 13. So write down two equations in A and B. Well, I know one equation is if I plug in my point. So I'm going to move this up here. F of x equals ax squared plus bx plus 5. So I have that one equation. If I plug in my point, 413, I can plug in 13 for the y, and I can plug in 4 for the x. So I have a times 4 squared plus b times 4 plus 5. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. So 16a plus 4b, and I'm going to take this over here, that equals 8. So there's one equation in A and B. I need two equations. And I thought, well, I'll use that point. I'll go back and plug in. The problem is, when I plug in this point, x makes the A and B go away. So they're telling you something about the vertex. Well, remember that the equation for the vertex, or you can look it up on your formula sheet, negative b over 2a. And so I know that this is the line of symmetry equation. I know the line of symmetry is at x equals 4. So negative b over 2a equals 4. That's an equation that involves a and b. It's not one we can use very easily right now, but it is an equation that involves a and b. So I have these two equations. This is just a system. It's just not a very nice system. I want to change, so we're gonna have to solve it now. So I want to change and multiply both sides of this by 2a. So I get 8a equals negative b. And then you can just substitute back in here. So b equals negative 8a. So you could take out b and do a substitution, whatever you do for a and b. Other ways that people may solve this is using some of the symmetry of the points that are given there, but you kind of know a couple things when you go to check your answer. A has to be negative because the parabola is upside down. And you know, at the end, if you did factor it, it's shifted to the right and up both. We know it's shifted to the right and up. So on the back of your paper is a mark scheme, and just going through the points a little bit, it says different methods, but there's your two equations. And when you solve, these are your two values to check. So if you're looking for how you get your points, I'll let you freeze that. I'm not going to go through every part of that. Okay. Then just general review, things to think about. People get confused still with profit. It's revenue. It's the money you take in minus the cost. Okay. The money you take in is not profit. The money you take in is called revenue. And so the thing that people mostly have gotten confused on the application problems is how do you figure out price when you know the income or the revenue taken in and you know the number of items. And that's because you're making it too complicated. However much money you take in divided by how many you sold is your price. Okay, so oftentimes we calculate how many items, we can plug that back in to find the revenue. Okay, usually this follows some kind of a max or min question. Graph and find solutions. So set y equal to 0 and then graph and look for the zeros wherever they are at on the graph. Calculate those zeros. In terms of x means you're writing a variable explanation. You know, x squared times 2x plus 3. They're usually going to tell you what you have to come up with or make you show that. Find maximum or minimum values. You can use the vertex formula, or you can graph and calculate max or min. Line of symmetry, same thing. These go together. And then the mapping problems. So I want to make sure you re-clarify. To find these values here, like I'll just pick one, I'll plug in 2. When I plug in 2, that's -4 minus 4 is -8. I draw an arrow there. Okay, if I plug in -2, now I have the same thing. It's parabola, symmetry. Don't rewrite -8 when you plug in those values. And you don't have to have this organized any particular way, but you do need to have arrows and understanding that these are the domain elements and these are the range elements. Okay, if you plug in -1, get -5, and so forth. Okay, if you're concerned, if you saw me do that and you thought I had a different answer, don't worry, my batteries are still low. Then put it in your table, -x squared, don't add your own parentheses, put it exactly like it is, -4. And then just go to the table. I think we have to set our table. I'm going to set it to go by ones. And then go to your table and just look at the values, make sure. Okay? 2, -8, 0, -4, -2, -3, -13. Okay, so take them that way. Let your calculator make sure you don't make any errors. So they ask you to list, you list it in brackets, and don't repeat values. Okay, last thing here is talking about a little bit with domain and interval notation. This is just some from a graphing program, and so the x value right here is -4.33. So I would say, in words, I would say this parabola looking thing here, parabola thingy, is less than or equal to the line thingy. It's less than or equal from -4.33 to -0.92. Okay, that would be less than or equal to. If it was just less than, you would take these off of here. You can also write it as while x is greater than or equal to -0.433 and less than or equal to -0.92. These mean the same thing. Okay, so that's pretty much what you need to review. Make sure you're familiar with your calculator. You can watch one of the other videos if you need help with that.